It's Trial Tuesday once again, and today we're talking about a very serious topic, sexual and violent crimes. South Carolina ranks as one of the highest states in the country for the number of domestic violence cases, and attorney David Aylor is here to discuss what happens after an arrest is made in one of those cases. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so as I just said, one of the highest, statistically speaking, in the country for domestic violence. So someone is arrested, what happens next?
Well, you got to really look at it from 2 points of view. One, you have the person who's been arrested and that legal process, what he or she's going to go down. And it's important, of course, that they get a private counsel to defend them or get a public defender if they can't afford private counsel, because these are criminal acts of various degrees, depending on, of course, what the circumstances are. However, the other side of that is what we're kind of concentrating on today, which is the victim. Victims have rights. In South Carolina, they have strong victims' rights, and you have individuals within the police department as well as the solicitor's office or the prosecutor's office that can aid them. But many times victims themselves ultimately get their own attorney, not because they're being charged with anything, but just to make sure that they have someone that kind of walks them through the process and protects every right that they have along the way.
So I imagine, for the victim, obviously it's a scary situation. Even though that person's been arrested, they still feel, if you will, a dangerous situation here. So they contact you right after this happened? Should they do that immediately?
Well, a lot of times you'll have a situation where a person really doesn't understand the system. Fortunately for most people, they haven't had to go through the system. So then when they end up in that situation where they know someone, or maybe it was a stranger and they're the true victim, they want to understand what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and when. And that's when a lawyer can come in and really assist in the process and also sort of be their mouthpiece and look at all avenues for them, even potentially looking at potential civil suit on their behalf as well.
So kind of walk me through the step-by-step process. After the arrest is made, they make contact with you. What's next? And in general, the timeline, how long can this drag out?
Well, it can drag out for quite a while. Usually what happens is after the arrest, at some point soon they'll have a preliminary hearing, at which point the victim is allowed to attend. They don't have to attend. Many times a lawyer will attend on their behalf. And then at that point, if it's bound over, the case then goes to the solicitor's office and can stay there for, 10, 12, 18 months, just depending. So it's quite a long process, and a number of the different issues that are brought up in bond court still have to stay in place during that time. And usually what you see often for an attorney who's representing a victim is they're contacting the police on that person's behalf or the solicitor's office, and really sort of the go-between of the victim and the police agency involved.
Do you have a lot of people that come to you? I guess I'm asking a timeline. Do they do it soon enough, or do they wait too long?
Sometimes people wait too long, and unfortunately the reason for that is they get to the point where they're frustrated with the system and don't understand it, whether it be for themselves or their child. The sooner that you can get some lawyers involved to assist on your behalf and making sure they're not just looking at the case, but they're looking at what best helps you, the better it is.
Someone who might be, watching at home right now and feels like they're in a dangerous situation, or there is a case of domestic violence, obviously the police, but should they also try contacting an attorney too? Well,
it's important. You really want to have that record. If it's something that's consistent, domestic violence, or of course you have other types of attacks that may be just, a stranger. Every case is different, but in the end you have a victim and you have some sort of violence, and it can get real scary if you don't know how to work through the system along the way.
Why do you think South Carolina is ranked so high for domestic violence?
A part of the reason is because the way the laws are written. Basically, if they feel like that, once they go to the home, if they feel like there's been any type of conflict and any actual physical touching, and they can find it, then that's going to be the reason that at least the arrest comes. Thereafter, things calm down. People don't want to go forward with it, so a lot of times that's where those high numbers come from.
Are they working to make changes to change those laws that will lower our numbers?
They are trying to make a lot of changes. However, in the end of the day, from a prosecution standpoint, I know I deal with this myself as a prosecutor. It's very difficult to prosecute something if you don't have other witnesses. Most of the time in domestic situations, you don't.
All right. And any last minute advice for someone watching right now who feels like they might be in a bad situation?
Well, definitely get help as soon as you can. That help can be through the police department, through counseling, through church, or the assistance of an attorney, particularly if you've been the victim of any type of abuse.
All right. Trial Tuesday with David Aylor. Thanks
for having me.
For being here. And we've got much more after the break right here on Low Country Live.